As of August 2025, more than 37% of tourism-dependent businesses in the US are on the brink of bankruptcy or have permanently closed. Meanwhile, the number of international visitors to the US has decreased by more than 58% compared to 2019. Not because they don't love America, but apparently because they no longer trust what is happening in America. A resident of Florida sarcastically said, "We used to welcome thousands of visitors every day. Now, it's just Felice, board collector walking along the streets." In Las Vegas, it was joked. The casino is still open, but now players are mostly company owners. Bets hoping for bankruptcy won't come on Monday. In this video, you will see 10 corporations that once lived well thanks to travel that are now gradually disappearing, from flashy hotel chains, familiar airlines, to names you have seen on every travel ad. The question is this just a temporary recession? Or is it the end of the American-style travel industry, where guests are few and crises are redundant? Hold on tight to your chair, as the upcoming list may shock you, make you laugh, and reflect on the future of American travel. Let's start with the first name. Believe it, a ship worth nearly $1 billion is now becoming the largest abandoned hotel in the world. Not far away, but right here on the American coast. Do you remember the last time you set foot on a cruise ship? For many people, it's a dream trip. Lavish cruises, endless buffets, live music nights on the deck. But now, one of the giants of the cruise industry, which once dominated every ocean, is on shore. Last year, they reported a loss of more than $2.3 billion US. Total debt? Exceeding $20 billion US is enough to buy back dozens of new ships. Compared to the peak period, revenue has evaporated by more than 70%. Why is that? COVID cannot be blamed entirely. Fuel costs skyrocketed, visitors tightened spending, plus competition from experiential tourism on land, all combined into a perfect storm. And perhaps the leadership has been resting on the winning streak for too long. Notably, not only do rich travelers leave because of rising prices, but even the most loyal travelers, often retirees, turn away. Reason? They worry about medical costs if there is an incident at sea, and the feeling of being stuck after weekly ship blockades during the pandemic. A couple in Florida shared, "In the past, going on a cruise was about enjoying yourself. Now, it's like betting on time and health." Meanwhile, a chef who has been with the ship for 15 years said, "I think I will retire here." But then one morning, an email announced that I no longer had a job. No farewell, no promise to come back. When the ship lies ashore, not only the employees who lose their jobs, but also the cruise ports, food suppliers, and performers suffer the same fate. The image of a giant ship drifting lazily as a symbol of the American dream slowly sinking. If you have the chance, do you still want to set foot on another lavish cruise? Or will you choose other, safer journeys? And if you think only cities floating on the sea are having trouble, then let's wait and see what a legendary land, a 100-year-old hotel chain is like now. A luxury hotel that has existed for more than a century, which has hosted presidents, Hollywood stars, and millions of tourists. Today, the main door is locked. The sign for sale quietly hangs on the moss-covered wall. You've probably booked a room here, where the hallways are covered with red carpets, crystal chandeliers, and balcony breakfasts overlook the sea. For many Americans, this is not just a hotel, but a treasure trove of family memories. But now, that symbol has ended forever. Room capacity dropped from 85% to only 35% in less than 3 years. Internal restaurant revenue decreased by more than 60%. And most frighteningly, unpaid infrastructure loan debt has prevented them from continuing to operate. What, after all, is behind this wave of retreat? tourists, especially the younger generation, choose to stay in homestays, private villas, is cheaper and more personalized. Besides, the cost of maintaining a historic building costs twice as much as a modern hotel, from an old air conditioning system to a tiled roof that needs to be replaced. And then when international guests have not returned, domestic guests choose short trips instead of long stays at luxury hotels. Notably, even long-time loyal guests who usually book a fixed room every holiday have left. Not because of the price, but because the experience loses its warmth. Long-time receptionists were cut back, and sophisticated services were replaced with self-service packages to save costs. A couple in New York shared, "We came back, but no longer received a familiar greeting. It feels like going home is gone." A room attendant for more than 25 years said, "I have witnessed thousands of couples celebrating their honeymoon here. Now the room is empty, the door is locked, and I'm looking for a job at a fast food restaurant." Hotel, like a beautiful ancient painting, rolled up, placed in storage, no one can see anymore. When a 100-year-old hotel closes, the surrounding restaurants, taxi services, and tour guides also lose their main source of revenue. A small tourist community can stay silent forever after just one decision to close. Have you ever stayed at an old hotel that no longer exists? How special was that experience for you? Please share with us by leaving a comment below this video. And if you think only quaint hotels are in trouble, wait and see what's happening with an airline that was once the pride of American travel that is now shaking at the dim future. This summer, hundreds of flights were cancelled in just a few days, not because of the weather, but because the airline did not have enough money to take off. That's right, a symbol of the American skies now having to choose between flying or surviving. Maybe you used to trust this airline to book tickets every time you visited your family, or took the whole family on vacation. They used to be proud of the flight routes connecting all parts of the country, but now 30% of peak season flights are cancelled. The airport was emptier, and the tickets were surprisingly cheap, just the last trick to attract customers before the door closed. According to the latest report, net loss was more than $1.8 billion in the past year. Fuel costs increased 45% in just 12 months. Despite receiving a $1 billion bailout package from the government, the company still cuts thousands of employees, from pilots and flight attendants to maintenance teams. Each flight now burns tens of thousands of dollars more than before, causing many passengers to soon turn around. Moreover, after the pandemic, the demand for travel has not fully recovered in the international segment. Domestic visitors have preferred road or low-cost carriers. Low-cost carriers are more flexible, free from the enormous burden of management costs. In addition, opening too many ineffective routes during a period of weak market has also unintentionally become the wrong strategy. Even though it was injected with bailout money from people's taxes, the company still prioritized paying dividends and bonuses to leaders in the early stages of recovery. This makes many employees feel betrayed, and customers doubt whether the company is still for the community or not. A cafe owner near Chicago Airport shared, "The government saved them, but who will save the small shops, hotels, and restaurants around the airport that live on their number of customers?" When this airline collapses, the impact will spread to the entire tourism supply chain. Fewer visitors, hotels reducing capacity, local stores losing customers. Like a bird spreading its wings in the sky for years. Wobbly hours, trying to flap its wings so as not to fall to the ground. If your familiar airline stops operating, will you find another airline or give up the idea of traveling far away? And if you think aviation is the industry that suffers the most, let's wait and see what's going on with the souvenir shops at the heart of the tourist attractions when guests are away. The lights go out, and the closing sale sign pops up everywhere. If you've ever been to Florida or California, you've probably stopped by Ron John's Surf Shop, paradise of souvenirs, t-shirts, surfboards, and thousands of typical items of the American sea. But now, even this legendary brand is struggling, and some stores have to close completely. For many Americans, especially families vacationing at the beach, Ron Jon is more than just a store. It's a mandatory ritual. Buy a few t-shirts with the beach name printed on them, a few small items for your grandchildren, and a wooden sign with a funny sentence hanging in the living room. It is estimated that full chain revenue decreased by nearly 40% compared to the period before the pandemic. Some stores that used to sell more than 5,000 shirts per day during peak season now have less than half left. Points in tourist areas with no visitors witnessed a free fall in revenue, which was not enough to pay the rent. Inflation causes people to only buy essential memories, usually doesn't buy anything. The I Love Miami shirts are now just a few clicks away on Amazon. Furthermore, guests no longer stop to buy souvenirs when the trip focuses on experiences and taking photos preserved on social networks. Meanwhile, ground rent in tourist areas increased rapidly, while sales decreased. Many older customers who were once the main source of revenue are now afraid to go to crowded stores because of health risks, or simply have enough souvenirs to last their whole lives. A store owner even said, "We still love Ron Jon, but now we buy online, and honestly, my house has no place to hang more wooden signs, 'Welcome to the beach.'" An owner of a Ron Jon franchise store in Key West stayed together for 30 years, eventually having to sell his house to pay off his debt after 2 failed tourist seasons. We live off summer, but summer can no longer feed us. When iconic stores like Ron Jon disappear, tourist neighborhoods lose their inherent bustle. Not only tourists lost, but also local craftsmen and artisans lost their place to display products. And you? When was the last time you bought a souvenir from a trip? Do you think this habit can still be kept in the age of online shopping? And if souvenirs can disappear quietly, then imagine what would happen when an entire tour industry at America's pride, national parks, was forced to mass cancellations. Imagine you've been planning all year to visit the Grand Canyon, airline tickets booked, suitcases ready, but just a week before departure date, email from Xanterra Travel Collection sent to, "Sorry, we were forced to cancel the entire tour this summer." For many Americans, especially the retired generation, package tours to national parks are not just a trip, but a dream fulfilled in life. Xanterra partners operate many tours and accommodation services in parks such as Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Zion, that welcome millions of visitors each year. But now, many tour routes have disappeared from the operating schedule. Some sightseeing bus routes reduced the number of trips by 70% compared to before the epidemic. Revenue from travel activities decreased by tens of millions of dollars in just 2 years. Last peak season, more than half of the tour was cancelled or the itinerary was shortened. After the pandemic, operating costs escalated unprecedentedly. Civil liability insurance for passenger vehicles doubled in just 2 years, while new environmental regulations required upgrading the entire vehicle fleet to reduce emissions. Costs up to millions of dollars. In addition, there is a serious shortage of personnel in driving and tour guide positions, making it impossible for many tours to depart. And even after overcoming these barriers, the number of tour bookings is still much lower than before, as many people fear extreme weather risks, wildfires or flash floods, which are increasingly common in national parks. All of these elements combine as a gradually closing door, preventing visitors from reaching natural wonders. Many older travelers, which is a loyal group of travelers, have chosen to drive themselves or switch to short tours to save money. This unintentionally reduces demand for long package tours, which are the backbone of Xanterra. A veteran tour guide said, "We used to take guests across Yellowstone for 5 days straight. Now, guests want to go on their own, and usually only stay one afternoon." When professional tours disappear, small communities around the park gates, eateries, motels, souvenir shops, lose their main source of life. Losing a tour means losing a steady stream of guests who have fed them for decades. Many people even say, like a traveler who reached the gates of heaven, the key to enter was taken away. If your dream tour is cancelled right before departure, will you find a way to go at all costs, or put aside your dream? We want to listen to your thoughts. Please leave it below in the comments. And if the national parks, America's nature icon, were still struggling like that, you wouldn't believe what's happening on Broadway, which once shone brightly and welcomed millions of visitors every year. With millions of international visitors, a night on Broadway is the culmination of a trip to New York. But now, Broadway.com travel experiences, which once brought tens of thousands of visitors to the spotlight each year, is closing the special tour packages for which they are most famous. If you've ever dreamed of sitting in the theatre, listening to the music rising at the Phantom of the Opera, or laughing heartily at the Book of Mormon, you've probably booked a full-length tour of Broadway.com travel experiences. Not only do they sell tickets, they sell the full New York experience, hotels near Times Square, pre-show dinners, nice theatre seat tickets, and backstage tours. But now, these tour packages have disappeared from the website. Revenue from international guests, which accounts for 65% of Broadway tour revenue, has decreased by more than 50% compared to before the pandemic. The number of package tours sold decreased from thousands to just a few hundred per peak season. When the US border closed during the pandemic, the number of international visitors, main customer group of Broadway tours, almost disappeared. After reopening, the cost of airfare, hotels, and services in New York skyrocketed, causing many travelers to cut their entertainment budgets, or just buy loose tickets instead of package tours. In addition, the flexible travel trend makes guests prefer to design their own schedules rather than book fixed tours. Scheduling changes, the early curtain call of some hit musicals, combined with a shortage of professional travel staff, have made it difficult for companies like Broadway.com to maintain service at the level it once was. Everything combines like a stage curtain slowly closing down, quietly but firmly. Even the American audience which is a backup source of guests, is losing interest in booking a full Broadway tour. Many people choose to watch live streams, buy last-minute discounted tickets, or skip Broadway altogether to prioritize outdoor activities. As travelers reduce spending on Broadway, restaurants around Times Square, small hotels and souvenir shops were also affected. New York's night economy lost one of its main drivers. If you come to New York, are you willing to pay more to experience the full Broadway package like before, or just buy single tickets to save? And if you think the performing arts industry is the main victim, then wait and see what's happening with a global car rental brand, where parking lots are now full of cars no one wants to rent. Can you believe, right in the middle of the summer tourist season, Hertz's parking lot is filled with thousands of cars covered in dust in the sun? Not because there's a shortage of cars, but because no one wants to rent them. Hertz, the name associated with American road journeys for more than a century, was the default choice of millions of tourists. From families traveling on Route 66 to business travelers landing at the airport, everyone once held a car key with a yellow-black logo. But now, that familiar image is fading rapidly. Revenue in the leisure tourism segment decreased by more than 35% compared to before the pandemic. Hertz shares plunged nearly 50% within 12 months. They used to own a fleet of more than 500,000 vehicles, but now tens of thousands of vehicles are being sold off to pay off their debts. The rise of Uber, Lyft, and ride-sharing apps has completely changed the way people move. Visitors now just need to dial the phone to have a car pick them up at the door. No need to worry about rental documents, refueling, or finding a place to park. Meanwhile, dizzying increases in vehicle maintenance and depreciation costs, combined with escalating commercial insurance prices, make each rental car less profitable than ever. And as international travel recovered slowly, Hertz lost its long tenant base, which was their goldmine. To make matters worse, a mistake in their strategy of buying electric vehicles in bulk but not having time to deploy their charging infrastructure has led them to take a huge loss. Even loyal customers are afraid to rent a car because of additional costs. Many people share the feeling of being shocked when a week's rent plus insurance, airport fees and taxes, sometimes more expensive than round-trip air tickets. A customer in Chicago said, "I went to the counter and planned to rent a car for 5 days. But when I saw the bill was more than $800, I called an Uber back to the hotel immediately." The weakness of car rental companies causes many airports and tourist destinations to lose an important part of their revenue. Vehicle maintenance companies, petroleum companies, and even used car dealerships are also affected by the chain. If you travel, will you choose to rent a traditional car or use Uber Lyft for convenience and cheaper? And if the car rental industry, a mainstay of American tourism, falls into this situation, then you will be even more surprised to know that even entertainment paradises, giant amusement parks and resorts, are having to close each part to cut losses. Every year, Disney's Epcot and Hollywood Studios welcomes millions of visitors. Entrance tickets sold out a month in advance, customers lined up before dawn. But this summer, many areas inside are being closed and a series of events are cancelled to cost-cutting. For many American families, a trip to Walt Disney World is more than just a vacation. It is part of childhood, an indispensable family memory. But now, it's not difficult to see images of the empty theme neighborhood, roller coasters carrying only a few people, and cartoon characters walking without anyone stopping to take photos. Visitors to Epcot and Hollywood Studios decreased by nearly 20% compared to 3 years ago. Revenue from food and shopping services in the area decreased by more than 30%. Ticket prices increased continuously by currently more than $150 per day during peak season, causing many families to reconsider or shorten the trip. Dizzying increases in ticket prices and food costs make the Disney experience a financial burden. Meanwhile, visitors are increasingly sensitive to mid-inflation spending, willing to choose smaller, cheaper amusement parks. Expansion projects are delayed or cancelled because of investment cost pressures. At the same time, the number of international visitors, who spent a lot of, has not fully recovered, leaving a large revenue gap. Added to worries about extreme weather in Florida and local politics affecting the brand's image, causing Disney to cut operations to preserve profits. Even long-time fans who bought tickets year after year are starting to lose faith. They complained about the experience being no longer as magical as before. The queue was still long, despite being empty. Many areas were constantly being repaired, and interactions with cartoon characters decreased significantly. The decline in guests at major amusement parks has had a knock-on effect. Hotels around the district have reduced capacity, local restaurants have lost guests, and small entertainment providers have lost contracts. And if you have to spend more than $150 per day just to enter the gate, are you still willing to take your family to Disney? But even the giant entertainment paradises have to shrink their operations. It will be even more surprising to know that a legendary travel magazine that has existed for 60 years has stopped publishing. For more than 6 decades, Condé Nast Traveler has been the guide of luxury trips and novel discoveries. But now, this legendary travel magazine has stopped publishing its regular print edition, closing a major chapter of global travel culture. The circulation of print editions decreased by more than 65% within 10 years. Print advertising revenue decreased by nearly 70% compared to the golden age. The number of print editorial staff was cut by more than half in just 3 years. The rise of online travel content has completely changed the way people find inspiration and information. Nowadays, with just a few clicks, you can see thousands of reviews, vlogs, 360-degree photos, instead of waiting for the monthly issue. Advertising revenue is the lifeblood of print magazines flowing to digital platforms such as Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Meanwhile, rising printing and distribution costs, combined with a decline in international tourists after the pandemic, made Condé Nast Traveler's traditional printing model no longer sustainable. They were forced to focus entirely on the e-version, a sensible decision about business, but left a void in the hearts of generations of readers. The sad thing is that even when switching to the electronic version, many loyal readers cannot keep up. A small survey shows that more than 40% of older readers are not interested in reading on the screen or feel that the electronic version does not bring the same feeling of touching a trip as the printed version. When established travel magazines disappear, photographers, travel writers, and even small destinations promoted through them will find it difficult to find quality communication channels. Do you still keep any printed travel magazines at home? Can the feeling of holding it in your hand be replaced by surfing on your phone? And if a legendary travel magazine closes the last page, then you won't believe that even the world's most luxurious cruise trains, symbols of disengagement and luxury, are stopping. Imagine a train passing through snow-capped mountains, the sound of a crystal glass echoing softly in a luxury dining car. But now, Rocky Mountaineer, the symbol of the lavish journey across North America, is having to cancel many dream routes and cut the scale of operations. The number of ticket bookings decreased by nearly 45% compared to the period before the pandemic. Some high-season trains reach only 60% capacity. Capital, fares ranging from $2,500 to $7,000 per person, are increasingly far exceeding the ability of many families to pay, especially in the context of inflation. Huge operating costs, from maintaining antique rolling stock to a team of chefs, waiters, and guides, have become a difficult burden to bear as the number of visitors decreases. International arrivals, which are a willing segment to spend on a lavish experience, have not fully recovered from the pandemic. At the same time, the trend towards short-term economical travel is dominant, leading many to choose cheaper trains or road tours. Fuel price storms and stricter safety requirements also make maintaining long-distance routes unprecedentedly expensive. Many potential customers once planned to save this dream train for a special anniversary. Now I have to skip it. Partly because of fares, but partly because of concerns about last-minute trip cancellations, which has happened in the last few seasons when the airline cut trips to reduce losses. Rocky Mountaineer's line cuts not only affect the airline, but also small towns along the train that used to live on the influx of luxury customers, shopping, dining, and staying. Rocky Mountaineer's story, like a train leaving the station in the morning dew, but then stopped in the middle of the valley, leaving passengers sitting quietly, hearing the wheels cool. If you had the chance, would you be willing to spend thousands of dollars on this lavish train? Or would you choose another way to see the beautiful scenery? We just went through a journey together from the cruise ships that once dominated the ocean, the 100-year-old hotel, the bright Broadway lights, to the lavish trains amid the snowy mountains. Each name on this list is not just a business, but also part of the memories of millions of people. But now, many of those symbols are leaving the stage quietly the way a summer ends. The biggest question is not who will disappear next, but how will we, travel lovers, choose to react? Will we cherish and preserve the remaining experiences, or will we let them gradually drift into oblivion? I want to hear your story. Have you ever had memories with these companies? What do you think is causing the tourism industry to change so quickly? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Maybe your story will inspire others. If you find this video useful and want to continue accompanying in emotional, social, economic stories, click subscribe to the channel, like, and share the video. Every turn you give is our motivation to continue delivering quality and deeper content. The content in this video is based on public information sources, market analysis, and financial reports published up to the time of production. This is not investment advice or absolutely accurate forecasting. Numbers and situations may change over time, and audiences should consult multiple sources before drawing conclusions.